In this session, we're going to show how to enter payroll time manually in the construction payroll module for the Sage Intacct. Before going into the time card area, you do want to make sure that you're at the entity level when you're entering payroll time. So I'm going to switch over to my entity switcher here, and I'm going to go into my Timberline General Construction Company, which is my payroll company. Once I switch over to the entity level, I'll go into Applications, Construction Payroll, and I'll find my time cards component, and I'll click on time cards. Once in the time card screen, you can select from your available list of pay groups depending on your company's setup. For this example, we'll go into the weekly hourly payroll pay group and select the week that you would like to manually enter time for. So we're going to use the week of January 21st, and then click View Timesheets. This will show you all eligible employees for that pay group that have the ability to have time for that week. And you'll notice there is some employees that already have some time in the system. The first 3 employees have 24 hours entered. The payroll timesheet itself gives you an overall totals on time entered so far for the week and what type of time it is. You'll notice here for each employee, it will list out the projects and how many projects there are, etc. So let's go down and enter some additional time for Gregory Lovett. So if you want to enter time for this one particular employee, you'll click on the down arrow for the employee, and it'll bring into some more detailed information here. So you're going to be into the work detailed area. So currently, you're going to click the plus button, and this is where you're going to be able to code what project this employee is working on. And you can pull a list of your existing jobs up in the system. You can best fit that. So if I start typing in G, it'll start pre-filling in the job number or job name. If it is time for non-job, there should be a non-job project set up in your system, and you could select that. So we'll say in this scenario, he worked on the Amazon Office upgrade. What cost code or phase code for this project? And we'll say he was working in cement paving. And what cost type? And typically you'll have one option here for labor. Could be broken up based on your setup, but in this scenario, it's labor. For the employee, you do not need to fill in the trade and the level if it is defaulting to the employee's trade and level that's set up in their employee setup. You would only need to fill out the trade and the level if it is something different than their default trade. So for example, if they were, typically they're in laborer, but typically they're foreman, but for this one line item, they needed to work as a equipment operator, you could flip it over here as well. So you only need to fill that out if it's an override or something different from their employee file. Once you've coded the project information, then you can go over to the days and you could select the day that they worked on this project. So for this scenario, let's say they worked on Monday, and you'll hit the down arrow on Monday, and that'll open up a daily detailed screen. And in here, you're going to select the hours type that they worked. So was it regular, overtime, or if you might have shop time, it depends on your hours type setup. So we'll say this employee worked regular hours. They worked 8 hours that day on the Amazon Office upgrade. You could put notes on the time entry line, and you could click Save. Now, if on that same day, maybe they worked 8 hours regular and 2 overtime, you can add a second hours type. So I can click plus, and I can also say they worked overtime that day and they worked 2 hours of overtime. So I can do that all within one entry. And then over on the right, I would click Save. Once I click Save, you'll notice it shows you the note for that day, and it also gives you a minus sign here that says, hey, there's some time on here, and it shows that there's 10 hours so far. Then you would proceed to do your next day. So if they were working on the same job, cost code, cost type, for the next day, you could leave the work detail alone, click on Tuesday, and proceed to fill out what type of hours were they working on. We'll say regular 6. It was still on Amazon and cement paving. And we can click save. And now there's 6 hours for that. Now maybe for 2 hours on that day, they did something else. So we would then add a new work detail line. We would click the plus button at the work detail. And now it says, all right, what job were they working on next? And let's say they jumped over to the Burns restaurant. Let's do something else because there's no data for the Burns. Let's say it was non-job related. So it was non-job for 2 hours. And they just got regular salary and it was still labor. And for 2 hours on Tuesday, right here now, we can say they got regular 2 hours and click save. And then what you would do is proceed to go through your weeks for that employee. And you'll notice here now what I can do is I can shrink this back up. And you'll see for Greg, he's got 2 jobs, 2 cost codes, and 18 total hours so far. And his time is in a pending stage, which means it hasn't been approved yet. So if I open back up to Greg, now I can get to all the detail that I need to. And you would keep proceeding along here and entering more information on Wednesday, etc. So if I need to enter stuff for Wednesday for the Amazon job, I can click here and I can say he worked 4 hours on Wednesday. And he also went to the store for us and, bought something and we need to reimburse him because he used his private account or something like that. So you might have a reimbursement set up. I don't have a good example here set up, but maybe you had an expense reimbursement set up here. We'll just call it per diem. And we'll say it's $20 that we owe him in an expense reimbursement. You could do that at the same time as payroll entry is done. So I can click save. And once you have done for that employee, you move on to your next employee, your next employee, your next employee. You could then get some informational reporting over here as to how many hours, and then you can continue on. And now you'll be ready for your next step, which would be to approve the payroll time entry in the next session. Thank you.